John Jannarone, Editor-Chief of IPO Edge. Very happy to be back at the New York Stock Exchange. We have a really interesting guest right next to me here. We have Dr. George Magrath, who's the CEO of Lexitas Pharma Services, and they specialize in ophthalmics. We're going to dig into that in just a second. George, welcome to the program.
John, thank you for having us.
So, George, I want to start. Tell us about the company and what that name came from, Lexitas.
Oh, sure. So Lexitas is a clinical research organization specialized in ophthalmology. So what we do is we help partner with ophthalmic companies that are trying to progress medicines or devices through clinical development to help them run clinical trials, navigate the regulatory pathway, and ultimately prove whether or not their drug or device is safe and efficacious for patients.
Gotcha. So, George, you've got a really interesting background, so let's spend a little time on that. So you are a doctor and a CEO. You actually practice and treat patients. Tell us about your background and how you wound up at the helm of this company. Were you a doctor first? How did that work out?
Well, I think the common thread through my career is that I've been very interested in healthcare and trying to be as impactful as I can in that area. And so that started with me becoming an ophthalmologist and getting into vision care and practicing. From there, I really went in and I worked for a while here in New York as an equity analyst before going to a pharmaceutical company called Hovione, where we developed a number of products there. When I was at Hovione, I worked with Lexitas for 6 years as our service provider, and they ran our clinical trials. And so a natural transition point came up in my life, and I was able to come to Lexitas, which has been a miraculous thing. Really, the beautiful thing about Lexitas is, I've been on the capital allocation side, I've been on the drug development side, and now I get to really work with a lot of different products rather than just one. So at any one time, we're working with a number of great companies that are really doing amazing science.
So tell me, how do you juggle treating patients and running the company? One of your colleagues was just telling me that you've been known to show up on a Zoom call in medical scrubs.
Oh, I've done that once or twice, but typically it's pretty firewalled, and my practice has titrated down as I've gotten more into other things that have allowed me to really leverage my impact on patients to beyond just one patient at a time. I truly haven't been able to stop practicing just because it's such a love and it's just such an amazing privilege to be able to do, and I really cherish that.
That's great. So you're practicing at a hospital down in Charleston, right?
Yes.
All right.
It's part-time. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So this whole world of biotech for outsiders can be a little bit tricky to navigate. Tell us what the ophthalmics game is like and how it's different from other parts of the biotech world.
Yeah, this is something we're seeing more and more of as the science becomes more complex, as the regulatory pathway becomes more complex, as clinical trials become more complex. Really, niche providers have been really helpful to the industry as a whole. So whether it's Lexitas and ophthalmics or other companies in other therapeutic areas, it's really been a great thing because it allows you to bring that true expertise that is very specified on the project at hand to the companies.
Gotcha. Tell us if you got any predictions for what's going on out there in the healthcare and biotech world as far as investing. Are you seeing any shifts underway at the moment?
Well, we certainly, just like the rest of the world, 2022 saw a decrease in funding, particularly for smaller companies.
Yeah.
Luckily, the larger pharma companies had very strong balance sheets and continued innovating. But what we're seeing now is that pick back up. So we're seeing a lot of early stage companies now being funded. It's really coming back, and it's a wonderful thing to see is the rebound of that sector.
Would you be able to offer any advice to people who are thinking about funding a company like yours or investing in this space generally?
Oh, sure. If you're investing in small to mid-sized biotech, or if you're developing new products, I think it is really important to make sure that you marry the science and marry the expertise and have a deep understanding of exactly what you're going after. A lot of the great products that we work with and the great teams that we work with have just an immense understanding and immense track record in the industry. And so I think it's really important to keep everything therapeutic area focused and to really dive into the patients and the diseases that you're trying to treat.
Great. Now, tell me about your investors in the company. Do you engage them regularly? Are these people who are specialists and understand what you're doing?
Yeah. Oh, this is actually a wonderful story. So we were a self-funded company for the first 10 years of the company's life.
Oh, wow.
And then last year, a little over a year ago, we were acquired by a private equity company called QHP Capital.
Okay.
And QHP Capital was selected by Lexitas. They selected us, but we also selected them because of their specialty in pharma services, right? And they actually have a number of companies in their portfolio that are similar to us and are in the same sector we are. We thought that was very important. The other thing that they brought to Lexitas was a true transparent, scalable management system. And so we engage with them at least monthly, sometimes more than that, as they're helping us figure out how to organize ourselves as we scale from a smaller company to a larger company that we are today.
All right.
It's been a wonderful experience with them.
Well, terrific. George, Dr. Magrath, thanks for joining us. This is really insightful, and glad you're up here with me in New York City, here at the New York Stock Exchange.
John, we really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. John Jannarone with IPO Edge signing off.